Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and I am joined this episode with my wonderful co-host, Kate, aka the Disney Cicerone. And we are moving on to something different. So our last episodes, we just talked about all things Disney Cruise Line, and now we are jumping back into the parks. And for this episode, we're going to be talking about all things tickets. So tickets, reservations, magic bands, all of those types of things. So that's what we're here for today. Kate, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good, and I'm headed to Walt Disney World with my family this next week. And my kids haven't been to Walt Disney World in about 3 years, so they haven't seen some of the new rides like Cosmic Rewind and Tron and Moana, and so it'd be really, really fun to show them some of the new stuff that's in the parks, and I'm excited for that.
Oh, they're gonna love it.
Yeah. So busy packing over here, doing all the mom things of making sure everybody has everything they need. So it's a busy time, but good.
Yeah. Well, it's summer. Summer is just busy in general, I feel like.
I know. My kids have just decided to embrace the summer schedule and like sleep in really late and go to bed really late. I'm like, what is happening here?
You're like, what? Why are you awake when I'm awake? You're supposed to go to bed early so I can have my evening
time.
Yes. So those of you who don't know, Kate is an author and she tends to write into all hours of the night. So
it's true. Yep. I'm a night owl for sure.
Yes.
So I love this episode because we get questions about tickets all the time. You know, we get questions about, reservations. We get tickets about questions about magic bands. We get questions about what kind of ticket they should get and where. And so I love that we're kind of digging deeply into this topic because I think this is one that we do get so many inquiries about.
Yeah. And a lot of it, at base level, it seems really simple, right? Like, how can you do an entire podcast episode about tickets? Well, there are so many little ins and outs and little quirks to the ticket systems at both Disneyland and Disney World that people need to know. So it's super helpful. And some of this information may be just kind of basic, like, yes, you can buy your tickets on the website. That's not what we're here for, though. We're here to give you the little details and the little extras that we can help you guys when it comes to navigating purchasing your tickets.
Yes. So, Jackie, it looks like you have a little bit of a note here. Full disclosure, because I'm getting ready for this trip, Jackie did an awful lot of the prep work for this episode. So kudos to Jackie for that.
Oh, thank you.
But it looks like you have a little bit of note before we dive in. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So I do want to just add the disclaimer that this information we are giving you in this episode is current as of June 2024. So things are changing all the time at Disney. Even when it comes to tickets, which doesn't seem like it would, but it does. So all of this information is subject to changes announced or not by Disney parks. Sometimes things are just kind of happen. A lot of the times things are announced. But we always want to encourage you to please do your research before purchasing tickets or passes to ensure that you have the most up-to-date information. And I would always go directly to the Disney parks websites first.
Yes.
There are tons of Disney news sources out there, and a lot of them are legitimate and some of them are not, unfortunately. So you want to make sure that you're getting your information directly from Disney when it comes to tickets and reservations and passes and all of that, to make sure you know what you need to know to be able to get your family into the parks when you go.
I think that's a really good site too. I mean, the fact that you can go a lot of places also to get tickets, but I always feel like I'm always recommending people to go directly to Disney because the discounts you get other places are somewhat minimal anyway. Right. And there's a lot of benefits to going direct through Disney, especially if you have a problem, something happens with your vacation.
Yes.
They're more likely to help you. They don't have any way of helping you if you went through a third party. So,
right. Yes, exactly. And do keep in mind that Disney's policy for tickets and passes is that guests 3 and over must have a valid ticket. So if you're bringing a little one that is under 3, they do not need a ticket. And it's not something that you have to bring proof of age or birth certificates or anything with you. But do keep in mind that is kind of the regulation that they follow by when it comes to tickets for the parks.
Yep. So shall we jump right into, I feel like one of the most controversial things, which is, let's just start off with a bang. Shall we talk about reservations first?
Yes, I purposefully put this first because I feel like this is so important for people to really hear and digest before we get into all of the ticket types and benefits and pros and cons and all that kind of stuff, is reservations. So Kate, do you want to talk about what the reservations are currently June 2024 in Disneyland?
Yeah, so in Disneyland, not Disney World, Disneyland, all guests must have a park reservation for either Disneyland or Disney California Adventure. So you have to have that. A lot of the times it does sell out where there's no reservation. So, I mean, if you haven't been to Disney in a really long time, this is something that came about when the world changed a few years ago. And they just kind of kept it on. And it really means that not only do you need to have a ticket, a valid ticket, you also need to have a reservation. But Disney's way that you buy tickets is you pick a date you're going the same time you buy a ticket. So you really can't go without a reservation if you have a ticket in hand unless you've purchased it from some like third-party vendor or something. So it's really not that hard to make a reservation because it's part of the ticket buying process as long as you go to the Disneyland website.
Right. And that is a little bit different than Disney World. If we've got, people who are listening that are used to Disney World, Disneyland, you literally do it in the same process. Like It's not a separate screen. It's not a separate click that you have to do. It's literally all at the same time. So you really can't miss it if you're purchasing it directly through the Disneyland website.
Right. The only exception to that would be some ticket you got somewhere else. So then you have to go and make a reservation.
Yes.
But do you want to talk a little bit about Disney World, Jackie?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to do my very best to make this very clear because we do get a lot of questions about reservations. And I think it's gotten a little bit easier the longer we've gone with some of the new regulations that they rolled out earlier this year. But let's talk about Disney World reservations. And I'm going to kind of just talk about different ticket types and tell you yes or no if you need one. So we're going to start off with the no category. And those would be date-based one-day or multi-day ticket. And those are any tickets that you purchase directly through the Disney website, the Disney World website, is now going to be considered a date-based ticket because you're going to select the first day that you want your ticket to start.
Right. It's not like the date. Oh, like Disneyland is specific dates. Mm-hmm. This is like the day that your ticket starts.
Yes. And it's like a range of 7 to 10 days, usually depending on how many days of tickets you have.
Yeah.
So they give you like a window that you're eligible to use them in. So if that is you, you do not need a reservation. If you have purchased a vacation package with those date-based tickets. So same type of ticket, same deal. You pick the day that it starts and it gives you a window, but it's with a package. You do not need a reservation. That is the biggest change that has happened in the last year.
Yeah, that was earlier this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the big one that people get confused on. So basically, if you have booked a ticket deal or a vacation package deal through the Disney website, you are not going to need to make a park reservation.
Right.
If you are someone who has, and this is kind of weird, this is still a date-based ticket, but just so you know, they have certain deals right now on the Disney website, and one of them is called the 4-day magic ticket. That one, if that is the ticket that you purchased, which was a little bit of a discount for those days, you do not need to have a reservation, again, because you're set to those days. And then they also currently have a 3-day 3-park magic ticket as one of their deals that they're running. You do not need a reservation with that. So that is kind of your rundown of that category for the no's. Let's talk about the yeses.
So you do need a reservation.
I know.
Right?
These are the ones that you do need a reservation. So let's talk about annual pass holders. Annual pass holders do need to make a reservation with 2 small exceptions. And those would be pass holders at Disney World have what they call good to go days. And good to go days are days on the Disney World calendar that will be marked on the reservation calendar that are considered good to go days for annual pass holders that you do not need to make a reservation, and you can visit any park that you choose to on that day.
You are good to go.
Good to go. So that is one exception. The other exception is if you are visiting a park for the first time in a day after 2 p.m., you do not need a reservation, with the exception of Saturdays and Sundays at Magic Kingdom. So let me say that again. If you're visiting a park for the first time and tapping in for the first time after 2 p.m., you do not need a reservation as an annual pass holder unless it is Saturday or Sunday at Magic Kingdom.
Just that one park.
Just that one park.
I don't even think I knew that, and I'm an annual pass holder. I just make reservations for what.
Well, and that really benefits a lot of the locals, right? You can you can just go there without having to make a reservation after work or after school or whatever. Right.
It's true.
Just a note here, and we'll talk a little bit more excuse me, about this later when we talk about the different types of passes, is the number of reservations that you can hold at any time with your annual pass is directly related to what pass you have. And that goes for Disney World and Disneyland, and we will get into that a little bit later on because we are going to talk about the passes and how that all works. Okay, so that's annual pass holders. In a nutshell, a couple other groups that you may have gotten tickets through that you need to still make a reservation. If you are going with a student group, so if you are there on some sort of a trip, field trip, vacation trip, whatever that may be, with a student group ticket, you are going to need to make a reservation. However, most of the time, those groups are going to have some sort of a touring company, travel agent that is heading up that, and chances are good that they're going to help that process. Yes, exactly. Same with sports convention tickets. So if you are at ESPN Wild World of Sports for a sports convention and you get a ticket through that, you are going to need to make a reservation from that ticket. Now, if you're at a convention or an expo or something and you buy your ticket separately, that's a different story. So keep that in mind. This is if you are getting tickets directly through that convention.
Right.
If you are someone who is purchasing, they currently have a deal for Florida residents that's called the Florida Resident Discover tickets. It's a little bit of a discount for Florida residents. If you purchase those tickets, you do need a reservation for those, which makes sense because it's like it's in state. So they want you, they treat you kind of like that annual pass category with that. A big one that we get asked a lot is the military tickets. So if you are someone who is purchasing or has purchased or has access to the Disney military salute tickets, you need a reservation if you have those tickets. So if you're doing that through the military base or Shades of Green or whatever that may be, you are going to need a reservation for that. There are other ticket types that are not explicitly stated in that no section that may also need a reservation. Things like complimentary tickets for something that happened at Disney, or tickets you may get through if you've got a cast member friend or something like that. Some of those may also apply, so be sure to look at the terms. And if all else fails, the majority of the time, if you go into your account, you have your ticket preloaded, you're going to be able to tell by trying to make a reservation whether or not you need one.
Right.
Because if you have a date-based ticket that you don't need a reservation for, it's not going to let you make a reservation.
That's a good way of knowing, because that's so confusing for some of this, just be like, okay, I'm just going to go try and see if I need one.
And that's what I always suggest. Sorry. Like if I can't tell for sure or you can't tell for sure, just try.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's reservations in a nutshell. I'm sure there'll be some more things that come up along the way with that. But should we just talk about standard tickets for a moment? So base tickets are good for one park per day. So you're going to go to just Magic Kingdom today. I'm going to go to just Hollywood Studios per day. I'm going to go to just Disneyland per day, one park per day. But you can't hop to any other parks. You can't go to another one in the afternoon. So that is one park per day tickets, base tickets. And then we also have park hoppers. So those are the ones where you could literally hop to another park. Well, not literally. That would take a long time.
Yeah. Not so long at Disneyland, a really long time at Disney World. So
it's true.
Take your transportation.
So hoppers are good for all parks. You can see specifics of their ticket per day. So some include water parks and some do not. So just pay attention to what you're purchasing. If you want the water park package, you can add on that. Disneyland park hopping is valid after 11 a.m. So if you're in California Adventure and you want to go to Disneyland, just wait till 11 a.m. and you can walk across the plaza and you're good, but only with a park hopper ticket. Walt Disney World park hopping is valid anytime the buses start around 10 a.m. So it's not like you could just check in and immediately hop on a bus. You could get in your car, but you can't hop on a bus. So
yes,
just be aware of that. They don't start running.
And I know a lot of people have been wondering about that when it comes to breakfast reservations. Okay, I don't need to make a park reservation. Can I go eat at Magic Kingdom, but then spend the rest of my day at Hollywood Studios? You absolutely can. But that transportation is going to be your biggest thing to kind of navigate.
Yeah.
Some of the parks are more connected than others. Getting between Magic Kingdom and Epcot is easy with the monorail. Getting between Epcot and Hollywood Studios is really easy with the Skyliner. But there are no park-to-park buses until around 10 a.m., so keep that in mind when you're planning your mornings.
Right. And a question that we often get with park hopping is it worth it? Because it is more expensive, and sometimes quite a bit more expensive, especially if you have a big family. It really adds up. Is it worth it? And, the general advice, this is my answer. I'll let Jackie speak for herself. My answer is usually at Walt Disney World, it's not worth it. For if you have a family, usually you can spend an entire day in one single park and be pretty happy. That being said, if you have maybe a lot of teenagers or something in your party who really love to just kind of like run to all the thrill rides in a day or something, they might be really happier not being stuck in a single park every day. But I really don't think it's necessary to have a park hopper there. It's more of a personal preference. Whereas in Disneyland, I think you can get a lot more value for like your Genie Plus if you have both parks in a day, because you could maximize, getting to both parks, and you can get Genie Plus. It applies to both parks when you buy it, and then you can end up hitting all of the major attractions, not every single one, but most of them in a day. Honestly, if you work really well, and it's so close, those parks are so close to each other, then it makes sense to hop if you want to eat at another restaurant that's in the other park or something. So it makes more sense to me for Disneyland. I don't think it's necessary though for anything. If you're on a budget, I think you can be perfectly happy staying in one park per day. Personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there are instances in Disney World where it does make sense. The first one that comes to mind for me, now granted, let me backtrack for a second. I agree with what Kate said. Most of the time when my family goes, I don't think my kids, and all the trips we've taken with my kids, I don't think we've ever used hoppers. So
yeah, especially with young kids.
Yes, we've been perfectly fine. One park per day. It's been great that way. The one thing that I will mention is if you are booking a package with like extended family, so maybe a larger room or more people, it may be beneficial for you to have the hoppers that day. That way people can kind of do what they want and do as they please, and you're not all stuck staying together in the same park together if you don't want to be.
Yeah.
Because when you book a package, your entire party has to be under that same package. So you can't book some people on base tickets and some people on park hoppers if you're all under the same package umbrella. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at hoppers or non-hoppers. That's something to keep in mind. Again, like Kate said, if you've got older kids or a lot kids that really just teenagers or young adults that really just want to do one or two of the parks, really just want to hit the thrill rides and then go to Epcot or, whatever that may be, it would be beneficial in that sense. But typically with younger kids, even kind of later, preteen kids, I think one park per day is plenty. The only other time that I would consider doing hoppers is if you have a really short trip. So if you want to get to all four parks or three of the four or whatever is on your list and you've only got a day or two, well, then hoppers may be beneficial for you if you're not willing to skip out on one of the parks at that point.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I do have a question here, Jackie, from Jules saying, do you need a reservation for the parties? So
no.
Right.
So this is a separate ticketed event that she's asking about for like Halloween party, Christmas party, and those types of things. No, because those party tickets basically serve as that. They're specific tickets for that one park. So you do not. Now, if you were wanting to visit the park before the party, then you need to go back to that list I gave you earlier with the no's and the yeses and see which one you fall under for that. If you want to do it before the party time starts. But for the party itself, no, you do not.
Correct.
And I will also mention, because I have seen this question, if you are park hopping, you don't have to like go on and change your reservation or anything like that. As long as you tap in, if you are someone who needed a reservation, so if you were in that yes list I gave you earlier, as long as you have tapped into your park you have your reservation for first, then you're eligible to hop. I should add that caveat as well. Because if you have a reservation at Magic Kingdom, but you try to go to Epcot first, they're going to tell you have to go to Magic Kingdom to tap in before you can get to Epcot.
And the same thing goes for Disneyland, but it's actually quite funny because I've had so many days when I want to go to Disneyland, but I can only get California Adventure.
Yep.
So sometimes I'll just tap into California Adventure if it's the right time of day. And then I just turn around and walk back over to Disneyland. And the cast members don't like it because in their system, it thinks I'm still in California Adventure.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't reset in enough time for me to walk to the other park. And they're like, it says you're over there. And I was like,
I'm not.
I'm
right here.
I'm right here.
Yes. Now, I will say on occasion, I have heard of like annual pass holders getting a nice cast member who maybe will let them not have to go to their first park, but it is not the rule. It is not, do not expect that to happen. You need to go to that park that you have the reservation for first, tap in, do something while you're there. Don't just like tap in and leave because that's silly, but you know,
Like me.
well, but it's so different at Disney World, right? Disneyland, that's a totally different story because you can literally walk between the parks.
I know.
And
I literally walk, I check in
not
and
even.
walk around and I just go right across the plaza.
Right. So like Disney World is a totally different story. Like don't
is.
waste your time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's silly to me. I have heard of people doing that, and I know sometimes reservations are hard to get at certain parks and you have to do, you know, what you got to do. What you got to do. But
why we all are a little frustrated by it.
Yes.
Because sometimes it seems very silly, but
yes,
they have their reasons. So that's
apparently so. So yes, those things are all things to keep in mind when it comes to the reservation system. And they're all part of why the reservation system is so difficult. But
yes,
we all have to learn to deal with it.
It is what it is.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, Sarah. So that being said, why don't we move on to annual passes? Do you want me to talk about Disneyland and you can maybe talk about Disney World? Does that work?
Sounds good.
So I am a Magic Key holder and also an annual pass holder at Disney World. So I have experience with both just because I do that for my job. So not just because I'm obsessed, but I am a little bit obsessed.
I mean, a little bit of that too.
So let's talk about Disneyland Magic Keys. So Disneyland Magic Keys and annual passes at Disney World are really different. They're like totally different animals. So the Magic Keys, ironically, just stopped being on sale. But it's been weird, Jackie, because there's been signs all over the park, like almost begging people to buy them for a long time. They're like
weird.
They're like, and for a while it was people were desperate to get them and they were waiting in line all day and then it would close and like everybody was really upset. And then all of a sudden they had this like a whole bunch of extra ones and now they've closed it again and like nobody really knows what's going on. We've heard there's some sort of internal restructuring they're doing with it. So they're only up for renewal right now. And so it's a weird thing. I'm not really sure what's happening with that. So this information might change just, but for now,
as of June 2024, this is what we know.
But when they do go on sale, there's most often limited availability, except for this last couple of months. There's been extra, but only in a couple categories. It's been very strange. So the levels are Inspire, which is currently $1,649. Believe, which is $1,249. Enchant, which is $849. And Imagine, which is Southern California residents only by zip code, and that's $499. The perks really do vary per level depending on what you get. And so there is park hopper availability for all the passes. The date availability for what day you can actually access the park depends on the level that you get. So the lower tiers have many, many blackout dates. Like they can't go in the summer, weekends, holidays. Like they're blocked out. You can't get in. The upper tiers have way more availability. Some of them are like all any day of the year. Some of them are any day except for like major holidays. So it just depends on what your needs are and how often you're going to go and when you're going to go, which one you would need there. They also have reservations like we talked about, but you can hold a different number of reservations at a time depending on the tier you're at. So Believe Key can have up to 6 reservations at a time. Same with the Inspire Key. The Enchant Key can have 4 reservations at a time, and the Imagine Key can have 2 reservations at a time. So you also want to assess, especially if you're like me, if you're an out-of-state Magic Key holder, you want to assess how many days in advance do you need to get reservations for? Because like if I'm flying in and I know I am going to have a 3-day trip, I can't have the Imagine Key because it's only 2 days. And so I wouldn't be able to have a guaranteed reservation for that 3rd day. You might be able to, once you drop this day, the day's over, try to put it over here, but it's not always possible. It depends if people cancel at midnight or whatever, So there's also other perks like 10 to 15% off dining, depending on your tier, 10 to 20% off merch. All of the passes have 20% off Genie Plus, which is fantastic. It's
Yeah,
great.
I don't know why they don't do that in Disney World, but we'll get to the Disney World side of things here in a minute.
They also is either free or discounted parking in the Disney lots, depending on your tier. There's PhotoPass included at the Inspire and Believe levels, so those upper tiers, and also a collectible magnet that you get in the mail usually. So the sad part about this, I think this is the only one that I think really makes me sad about the Disneyland reservations, is the no-show policy.
Yeah.
Because it is a bummer. And this is where you see, if you've ever seen those like TikToks or reels of like people who check in and they do the tap and leave, like I was just talking about, they go and they tap in and they leave and they go
but
home.
they literally leave, like they're not just going to the other park, they literally leave.
But like a lot of locals will do that if that's because they forgot to cancel the reservation, the night before or whatever, and they have to go in because the policy is Magic Key holders who are a no-show for 3 reservations in any 90-day window will be unable to make a new park reservation or modify existing park reservations for 30 days. So you get punished if you don't show up. The 30
just crazy to me.
It's crazy. Yeah. And so the 30-day period begins the day after the third no-show and will continue even if the pass is upgraded to another pass type or renewed during that time, which is wild. I'm like, if you're going to pay to upgrade, or if you're giving them more money and they're still going to be like, sorry.
No. You didn't. You ghosted us. You get nothing.
And then cancellation or modification of reservation has to be done by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on the day before the reservation date. So that's when you can usually go, if you are a Magic Key holder, you can usually go in really late at night and find a whole bunch of people who have dropped their reservations. And that's when you can pick one up, most likely, if you need one. But I think that's the thing that is most irritating to everybody, is the reservations themselves, plus this like no-show policy is very frustrating, especially when we used to have, you could just go any day, anytime when you were an annual pass holder and you didn't have to do any of that. So,
well, and it's clear that Disneyland over the past, 4 years since the world changed has had issues with capacity.
Yeah.
So they're trying to alleviate that, but I don't know. I don't know that that's the way to do it, but here we are.
I don't know if there's a better way. I don't necessarily have a suggestion, but I just I think that there is an overwhelming sense of frustration, especially because the pass is so much more expensive than it used to be, but it has a lot less perks and freedom.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the photo pass is a really nice perk, especially, they've been testing out those like mini photo sessions where you can do like a 15-minute session with a photographer and they walk around to different areas and take your picture. And
well, and it's nice that with that photo pass, you guys get all of your photos too, with all with your Genie Plus and all of that kind of stuff. So like that's again different than at Walt Disney World. It's separate.
Yeah, I'm sad about Disney World. Let's talk about Disney World. I'm sad because I pay a lot of money for it, and I'm sad that I don't get as many benefits. So.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the Walt Disney World annual pass, and they're just called annual passes. They don't get the Magic Key special name like Disneyland does. So they are currently on sale. I think we just had the one kind of time period post world changing where nothing was on sale. But pretty much since they've opened up, they've been available. They do have a couple different levels like the Magic Keys do. So the Incredipass is the top tier level for your annual pass at Disney World, and it is currently $1,449. It is the only pass that is available for out of state. So if you live out of the state of Florida and you want an annual pass to Disney World, this is your option.
But you don't get discounted. No, sorry. Like GP Plus. I'm like, Well, yeah. And that's not true for Disneyland, which we didn't mention. Disneyland, you can buy any of the levels except for that Southern California one. Yep. It doesn't matter where you live, you can buy them. So
yes. So one of the things that Florida does offer for its residents are payment plans for their annual passes. So if you are a Florida resident and you want to do the Incredipass, you do have the ability to do a payment plan on that. And that payment plan is $112 a month after a $205 down payment. So all of them have a $205 down payment. I don't know where that number came from. or why it is that number, but they all have a $205 down payment.
And then probably started as like, $99 and then just keeps creeping.
Well,
up.
I wonder if that's like the average of a day equivalent.
I guess
ticket.
Maybe that could
maybe
be.
if you purchased day of, maybe that's the most it would be per day. And originally, I don't know, who knows. This pass does not have any blackout dates, so that is a benefit that is nice for the Incredipass for out-of-state pass holders if you choose to have that pass. And you can have 5 reservations at a time with that particular pass. Right. So that is your top tier out-of-state option for your annual pass. The next option down is the Sorcerer Pass. It is $999. It is for in-state, but also certain DVC members. So if you are a DVC member and you are eligible for what they call membership extras, then you are eligible to purchase a Sorcerer Pass if you choose to. That does not give you the option to do the payment plan, but if you are a Florida resident with a Sorcerer Pass, you can do a payment plan of $72 a month after a $205 down payment. And the blackouts for this one are mostly just holiday weeks. So the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas and New Year's are your blackouts, generally speaking, for that. And you can have 5 reservations at a time. And I will mention for all of these blackouts, for whether it be Magic Key or Disney World Annual Pass, those are all available on the website and through the apps on like their reservation calendar. You'll be able to see what's blocked out and what's not. Okay, next pass down is your Pirate Pass. Your Pirate Pass is $799. Again, only for in-state people. The payment plan for that is $54 a month after that down payment of $205. The wording for this is interesting. It talks about blockouts during peak and holiday time. So it's whatever they determine to be
peak.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it could be summer, it could be holidays, it could be, all of the above. So it's not necessarily specified exactly what
they change
those
it
are.
sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always like this week before Thanksgiving. It's like that's a given. But like, there's other ones where like they just are predicting there'll be more people there. And so they'll block it out.
Yes. So you'll see that sometimes those passes, if they know ahead of time that like an attraction is opening or something like that, they'll block out some of these lower level passes because of that. And that happens at Disneyland and at Disney World. So with that Pirate Pass, you can do 4. Sorry. I was like, is that the one I was reading about? 4 reservations at a time with your Pirate Pass, for that one. And then the lowest level pass is your Pixie Pass. That is $439. And again, only for in-state. Your payment plan for that one is $22 a month after your $205 down. This is the one with tons of blackouts, like Kate mentioned, that Disneyland kind of has an equivalent for that. You're blocked out on weekends, peak time, and holiday time. So this is basically just a weekday pass, if you want to think about it that way. But you can only hold 3 reservations at a time with that particular pass. And then one other thing I do want to mention as far as options go, all of the Disney World annual passes have the option to add the water park and more. And that is a $99 add-on to your pass. And that gives you access to both of the Disney World water parks if they're open. So it may only be one at a time. That's what it's been recently. Also gives you access to the golf courses, foot golf, mini golf after 4 p.m., and admission to the ESPN Wild World of Sports during special events. So all of that is included in your water park and more. And like I said, any pass level is eligible to add that as like an add-on. So all pass levels at Disney World, if you are staying on property, so this is a benefit for like our out-of-state pass holders. If you're staying on property, you do become eligible to make reservations for the length of your stay. So someone like Kate, who is visiting Walt Disney World as a pass holder, but is going to be staying on property, is eligible to make more than the allotted amount of reservations that her pass allows if her trip is longer than that. So if she's got We know she has the Incredipass because she lives out of state. That's just a given.
The only option I've got.
Right. So we know that she can do 5, but let's say her family has 7 park days. Well, she'll be eligible to make park reservations for all 7 of those days.
And I did it early, and I'm glad I did because I might get to go to see Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
No, that lucked out. That was like the universe aligning for you. That's exciting.
So I will say, make your reservations as early as you can because you never know if the park might be blocked out because of some random event that comes up.
Right. Yes. So true. So true. And do remember, we talked about this earlier, but we talked about reservations. If you are there during good to go days, you don't need reservations for those days. So if you're staying off property and you need, more than your 5, maybe you get lucky and you have a good to go day in there somewhere. So that'll help you with one of those days. So that is something good to know.
Yeah, there is also a couple perks for annual pass holders. They've introduced a few extra ones here recently too, but they're like not keeping them around very long. So at least it gives us hope that maybe they'll like kind of bring some stuff in and out. But there's park hopper availability, so you can go and you can park hop with it. Free parking at all the parks, and also there's dining and merchandise discounts. Although I will say that the dining discounts are way less than there are at Disneyland. It's like
same. I think same with some of the
few.
Merchandise options too. Disneyland tends to have higher discounts for their Magic Keys than the annual pass holders do at Disney World.
Like I save money left and right at Disneyland with my Magic Key, and that's not the case at Disney World. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah is the name of the night. So,
right. So, and some of those levels, as far as like the amount that you get your discount on, do vary from pass to pass, like we talked about with Disneyland. So, and sometimes Disney World will run like special months where like during the month of May, you get an extra amount off of your merch. And Disney World does sometimes have like pass holder lounges that they will put up. Like right now, there's one inside the Morocco Pavilion at Epcot. So there's some of that kind of stuff that happens too as far as perks go. You just kind of have to check it out. And I will mention that the best place to find like what is happening with annual pass perks right now would be to check on your My Disney Experience app for Disney World. And I guess I don't know, does Disneyland have that annual pass holder like page on their app like Disney World does?
Feel like it does. And I haven't really looked at it.
It's like what's Buzz or something like that is what they call it. So.
Yeah, it's different. It looks different. It's Magic Key stuff. And one thing that we didn't also mention is Magic Key holders also have a Magic Key like lounge in California Adventure that actually has a really great menu. It's kind of up above it's in the terrace. It's up above the vineyard restaurant.
Yes, that's right.
I remember the name of it, but it's actually a really lovely place to go, and it's quiet, and the food is really good. So I think that was a really nice perk, and I'm glad that it's not a temporary one. It seems like one they're keeping around. So
yeah, the lounges at Disney World tend to kind of come and go with the changing of the tides. So
I know
maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. And Disney World does also do magnets, but they kind of do random magnet drops throughout the year. And it's one of those things where, like, if you're lucky enough to be there during that time frame, you get one. And if not, sorry about your luck. But maybe we'll have extra in a couple months and we'll do a big magnet giveaway at Animal Kingdom because they did that not that long ago, too.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. Whenever I'm there, I just see, like, oh, are they giving away a magnet now? Because I can never remember when they do it. I'm just like, I'll just look it up.
They did have a Stitch magnet. That was the last one they did. I don't know if it'll still be there when you get there or not.
I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, we forgot to mention that annual pass holders get a hotel discount at Disney World. Oh, we should have mentioned that. That's actually one of my favorite perks.
Yes, so if you are an annual pass holder at Disney World, you do get a discount on your resort stays, which is a nice benefit of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, okay. Shall we move on to linking your tickets to your app?
I think we need to talk about where and how to buy before we hop down to
did I skip it? I'm so sorry.
That's
I scrolled. I went right past it.
Too far. Okay, it's just a little baby section. Okay, so let's talk about where and how to buy tickets. And again, this may sound like common knowledge, but let's just make sure that everyone knows. So individual tickets can be purchased directly on the Disney websites. Same with packages. When you go through to book your package tickets will be purchased at the same time that your package is purchased. If you're buying individual tickets or like multi-day tickets alone, you do have to pay full cost of those tickets up front. If you're booking a package, you typically have a down payment amount. Most of the time it's $200, but that can vary depending on what you're booking and things like that. And once you have paid that down payment, you will have access to your tickets to then be able to do what you need to do with them. There are third-party sites. We mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. Places like Undercover Tourist is one that I know of that will run deals for tickets. They can save you money, but it may also give you a headache if you have issues. Disney customer service may or may not be able to help you with issues with third-party purchase tickets. So that's what Kate was mentioning earlier at the beginning of the episode, saying that it may or may not be worth it. It could be perfectly fine. You could have no issues and no problems. But if you do have an issue, you may or may not be able to get someone quickly to help you with that issue.
Yeah, I used to get my tickets through AAA back in the day. And it's like the local, or actually physically went into AAA, and then you get, but they're only like $10 or $15 off max maybe per ticket. And like, it just wasn't worth it. I was like, I'm just going to just do this online. They're already then hooked up to everything. I don't have to like think about it anymore. It just became too big of a hassle to deal with.
Yes. And that is a big benefit, whereas we are going to jump into talking about linking tickets to your app and all that fun stuff that I know everyone always has questions about. But that's a really good point. If you purchase it through your account through the Disney site, it's already going to be there for you, which makes it a whole lot easier.
Also for the people who are maybe not as tech savvy, because this can get really complicated. So
yes. Okay. Let's jump in. We're going to talk about linking tickets and adding people and making it all gel inside your app. So we're going to do our very best to explain this in a way that's easy to follow so that way people know, because I get it. This is hard. This is complicated. This is tedious. If you're not super familiar with the app or with the technology behind it, it's a lot. So first of all, let's talk about how to link your tickets to your app. So at the time of purchase, you should, if you're purchasing directly through Disney, I should just kind of caveat that everything that I'm talking about is like if you're purchasing through Disney. We're not even kind of talking about third-party sites because that's a different story. But if you are, at the time of purchase, if you're purchasing through Disney, you will be prompted to assign your tickets to someone in your travel party or someone that's in your account already that you're using. So if you're booking a package or something along those lines, it's going to ask you to assign names to tickets whenever you go through and book it. So if you're booking a package, whenever you go to enter everybody's information, please make sure that you are very careful about entering everyone's names, date of birth, age, all of that correctly, because those adult versus kid tickets will kind of automatically go where they need to go. And if you don't do it right, then it becomes a headache because then you have to get a hold of customer service to fix it for you. And you can always double check your ticket types and assignments in your app on both ends, whether it's Disneyland or Disney World, under the 3-line menu down in the bottom corner. And then you can click My Tickets and Passes from there, and you'll be able to scroll, kind of swipe through and see everybody's tickets or passes that are on your account. Right. So in a nutshell, that's how to link the tickets to your app. Now, the other thing that is a little bit different about that I just realized, because we had the question earlier about the parties. Party tickets are not always going to be linked to your app, even if you purchase them through Disney. You will have to go in and import them one at a time. So from there, we'll talk about how to add that in your app here in a little bit. But you'll have to go through and add those special party tickets or special event tickets will have to be added, because for whatever reason they don't automatically add to your account, which I thought was weird. We bought tickets for Jollywood and Very Merry last year, and I had to go through and individually add them to my account.
Yeah, I had to do that too.
Okay, so let's talk about how to add people to your app. This is something that gets very complicated at Disney World, but let's talk about Disneyland first. Kate, do you want to talk about Disneyland?
So in Disneyland,
not, but it is.
It's just such a different system, and I think it catches people by surprise who are used to the Disney World system when they go to Disneyland, because it's just really, really different. So on the Disneyland app, the only way to link your party together is to link your accounts, is to load their ticket into your account. So there's no friends and family list or anything like that. None of that exists there. So to link, you just select the 3-line menu, which we call the hamburger menu for those who are in design, at the bottom right. Click on tickets and passes, and then the plus sign at the top right. And so, or you can select the hamburger menu at the bottom right, scroll down to link to account, and scan the barcode or QR code on the pass or ticket, like literally with your phone, and scan it. And it should kind of, hopefully, if all goes well, it should pop up in there. And then you can delete their ticket later if if you're just meeting up with a friend for a little bit and you want to book some Genie Plus together or something like that. You can just have it for a couple of hours or a day or whatever, and then delete their ticket off of there. It weirds me out because, like, especially with my Magic Key, that it lives on some other people's phones and they have access to it, but obviously they can't use it to get into the park. But it's very strange that they have that system. That is what it is. So.
Yeah, it definitely, you talked about it catching people off guard. When I started doing like Genie Plus, research for Disneyland, I was like, what do you mean there's no like friends and family list? Like, how do you know? How do you? It's like, oh, you just literally load their ticket onto your, okay, sure. So yes, the system doesn't mind or care that your ticket is in multiple places. So that is how Disneyland works. It's pretty straightforward and way less complicated than Disney World is.
Yes. So let's talk about Disney World.
Yes. So again, I'm going to do my very best to make this clear. So the My Disney Experience app, which again, that is your Disney World app. My Disney Experience app uses the family and friends list to link people together. So if you've got other people in your travel party, or you're meeting up with friends or other family members, and you want to be able to, essentially, you want to be able to book your Genie Plus together. That's really the benefit of doing this, right? So if you want to be able to do that, you're going to need to make sure that they are in your family and friends list. So to access this, you are going to select that little 3-line hamburger menu that Kate was talking about in the bottom right, and you're going to scroll down to where it says my profile under your account. From there, you are going to select the family and friends list, and you'll see it along the top. I don't know if those are in order, Kate. I'm sorry if they're not. I tried.
I'm looking.
So you'll see like your name, and then there'll be 2 menus across the top. One will show you your account information, and one will show you your family and friends list. So then from there,
found it.
Yep, you're going to scroll to the bottom where it says add a guest. Sorry, I blocked out all of the personal information for everyone in my account. So you are going to then select add a guest. Now, there are 3 different ways in which you can add a guest to your account. So once you click that, there's going to be 3 options. The first option is to find them through connected guests. So that's going to be your top option that you're going to see whenever that populates for you. This will allow you to add guests of other guests that you are already connected with. So if you are in this process and you need to add 4 or 5 people, add one person, add the main person on their account first, and then the other people should populate under that list that you see down at the bottom where all those little Disney profile pictures are. So I would use this option when you're looking for someone like a child of someone else that is managing under their separate account. So if I wanted to, let's say, for example, I have a sister, my sister and her daughter, I want to link them together. I'm going to add my sister first through one of these other ways that I'm going to tell you in a second. But then my niece should auto-populate under that connected guest area. So you want to make sure that main account is already connected, aka the parent account for the kid that you're trying to add. Or, for example, I will see like couples, spouses, where like one of them has an account and the other one just exists under their account. Same thing applies. But you want to go through and add whoever the main person is on the account first if you have multiple people in that family you're trying to link together.
Right.
That will then prompt an email to the main account to approve the linking. So no one can just randomly add your kid or your people underneath you without you knowing. You have to it'll prompt you with an email and you'll have to approve that email.
Right.
So that is one option. Okay. Option number 2. When you click that add a guest, you are going to find the enter name and age option as one of those options. So then from there, you'll see down at the bottom, it'll populate for you to add their first name, last name, and then down at the bottom, once you click through that, it's going to prompt you to add their email address, and it's going to email them a link to join your account. So this is good for sending someone an email request to create an account or link their existing account to yours. So this is what you're going to want to do with that main account that you're trying to link together if it's family members or something like that. If you select this and the person that you are adding has a My Disney Experience account, please be sure that the email you send the invite to is the same email that they use to create their account. Otherwise, you will create a duplicate account and it will be a giant headache for you.
Yes. Like you'll have to wait on the phone for a long time to fix it. Yeah, I've done that. Don't do that to yourself.
No. So check with them, find out what email they used, and send it directly to that. So keep that in mind. Okay. Next. The last option is to scan their linking code. So again, that same thing that we just said, how will you add that guest? You're going to scan their linking code. This is easiest if the person you are trying to link with already has their My Disney Experience set up and you want to share plans. Or if you're like physically with them, that's the easiest way to do it. I've done that literally with friends in the park where we like wanted to be able to see each other's plans and like, yep, here, let me find your code and we'll do it that way. If the scanning doesn't work, you can also manually enter their linking code by clicking the bottom of the screen below the camera where it says manually enter a code. So that is an option that you have as well if you're scanning. Sometimes the scanning is finicky and it doesn't work, but it'll also give you a code when you go to do that. Sorry, I can't really show you my linking code because I don't want 1,000 people adding me to their My Disney Experience.
Oh my gosh, right?
So that is your option with that. And again, if you ever have any issues linking people or tickets, I will often use the chat on the app with the customer service rather than calling because they can do that through there as well. I had an issue for some reason on a package I booked like 2 or 3 trips ago. They mixed up our tickets and like I had my kid's ticket and my husband, they got all confused. I don't know. We have no idea why that happened. But I was able to chat with them and they sent me like a link to enter my information in and then it shot it back to them and it was all safe and secure and they were able to do it through the chat on the app. That's so good. That was really nice because I didn't have to sit on the phone.
Them. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know that they can do everything like that, but mostly like if you have issues with people being misassigned or things like that, they can help you with that. The other option is if you like are doing this last minute and you realize that it's not working or something happened, go down to your concierge desk if you're staying on property because they have experience doing that as well.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
So they can help you make sure I've suggested that to friends who are there who are like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not working. I can't find them. It's like, go to your desk, go to concierge or go to the front desk. If there's no one over there, they can help you make sure that everyone's linked on your account.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, those are the 3 ways that you can add people through My Disney Experience. It is complicated, but I have faith you can do it.
Once they are in my plans, like let's say I have a couple of friends who I share plans with, right? And so Jackie could see my plans or, I have a couple other friends that I travel with once in a while and I see them while I'm there. So we just don't remove our accounts from each other. When you're looking at the My Plans area, you can hide other plans that aren't your family if it's way too confusing because it might be.
Yep.
So keep that in mind when you're kind of previewing that thing, especially as you're planning that you can choose to just see your plans. That is an option.
And you can also change your privacy settings. If you have someone that you want to share just your joint plans with, you can select that as an option. You can select whether or not you want them to be able to view your PhotoPass photos. You can select whether or not you want them to be able to view your plans at all or just see, you know what I mean? There's lots of different security options. So if you're traveling with, someone and then you get into a disagreement with them and you don't want them to see your stuff anymore, I don't know, then you want to hide that from them, right? Yes, exactly. I mean, you can also just remove them at that point. But if something happens or you have, your estranged aunt is on your trip with you and you don't want her to be able to see your pictures. You never know, right? So they do have those options. And you'll see that at the very bottom of your family and friends list. It'll ask you, like, what does it mean when I share? And it'll bring up a whole drop-down menu of different little things that you can select and unselect. And you can actually do it per person too. So like you can allow certain people to see your photos and other people to not see your photos and things like that. But it is honestly really helpful for, if let's say you go, we're all part of our lovely Mom Street community. We do a meetup. We want to be able to book Genie Plus together. We can link our accounts, but then we don't have to give you access to see like all our family photos and things like that, So they do have some of that is helpful in certain situations. Not generally for like just your average guest that's going on a family trip, but for some people it is helpful to have that option to hide certain things.
Right. I like the flexibility of that for sure.
Yes.
All right. Where are we headed next, Jackie?
Okay. Let's talk about mobile, My Magic Mobile, and digital tickets and passes and what all that means.
Okay. I'm going to let you do this one just because I'm really honestly just not like I don't think about it that much.
Yeah.
I know you do a lot. So I'm going to let you go.
This is all things that I do when I help people with their trips. So
I just go.
So essentially my Magic Mobile is the digital version of your ticket at Disney World. Disneyland, you don't have to worry about any extra steps because your barcode for your ticket can just be found in your app under your My Tickets and Passes, and you have that to be able to access your ticket. But that is what it will look like in your wallet. It's a cute little card for that you can like pick the design for and all that kind of stuff. So tickets purchased on the Disneyland app can be scanned directly from the barcode on your mobile device. Some people I have seen will talk about screenshotting it for easier access. Some people just use it in their app. It just depends on what they want to do with that. But if I'm wanting to use My Magic Mobile for Disney World, there are a couple extra steps, unfortunately, that you have to take. For whatever reason, their tap styles are not equipped to scan the codes from your ticket. Don't ask me why. I literally don't know. So,
Disneyland's tap style has a little insert for your phone where you can slide it in and it will scan your ticket, and Disney World does not.
Yes. Don't know why. I don't know why they're making it so complicated, but that's the story of our life. Okay. So how do I load the tickets to my wallet? So if you are someone that just wants to use your phone, you don't want a card, you don't want a Magic Band, you don't want anything else, you just want to use your phone. First step is to make sure that your mobile wallet is set up on your device and that your ticket is showing correctly in your My Disney Experience app. So that's kind of the first step. You want to make sure all of that is correct. And mobile wallets look different on all sorts of different devices, so I'm not going to get into that. You're just going to have to figure that out on your own.
You're not going to show us your wallet?
No.
Credit cards?
No. Well, and, Apple versus Android versus Google versus all of that.
Right.
Okay, so in My Disney Experience, then you're going to click the little hamburger menu, 3-line menu, and then you're going to select the option that says Set Up Magic Mobile Entry. From there, then you're going to click the plus sign to add the passes that you want to be able to add to your mobile wallet. So from there, you will be able to select which ones you want to load. Alternately, you can view the ticket under My Tickets and Passes, and underneath the barcode, there's an option that says Add to Wallet. So either one is fine. And then you'll choose which style you want. There are tons of themed options that you can find, and there's a million to scroll through. Park specific, there's Pride ones, there's ear hat ones, there's different characters, all sorts of things. So that is kind of the way to get it to download to your wallet. And then from there, you can just use it like you would typically use your wallet to tap when it comes to that. You can also do the same thing on your watch. Same thing, you just have to make sure it's added to your wallet on your watch. And then what do you do with the tap style? You treat it like you would a mobile or a tap to pay option with that. So it can work on smartphones, smartwatches, anything that have that mobile wallet capabilities. You do have the option to use that as an option.
I wonder if they will ever figure out just to automatically add the ticket to your app like Disneyland does, where you don't have to do all these extra steps to
the problem is that the tap styles just don't have the little
capability,
things.
Right? Yeah.
They have to have whatever, I don't know, what is it, an RFID chip or whatever. Like there has to be something inside the Mickey that you tap to.
Right. Makes sense.
It's different than what you guys have at Disneyland, because Disneyland has the little scanner thing. So
it's always interesting to me that they don't universally make that the same across all their
Well, and
parks.
it's such a pain because a lot of people don't realize that you can't just scan that ticket at the front.
Right.
So people will go and get in line and wait to get in line to the parks and get to the front and not have it loaded on their watch or their phone. They just have it in their app. And
Right.
the cast members will tell them, like, sorry, you have to get out of line and go load it to your wallet or go to guest services and get a key card, which is an option if you do choose to do that and you don't want to mess with anything that we just talked about. That's another option you can do. But it is, I mean, I see people have that problem every single time I go to Disney.
Yeah, and it's frustrating for everybody because it's frustrating for them because they waited in line and didn't know, and it's frustrating for the cast members because they have to tell them, like, sorry, you can't do this, and then it's frustrating for everybody who's waiting behind them while they have to listen to it. So either put this on this or maybe just get a Magic Band, which is what we should probably talk about next.
Yes. Kate, do you want to tell us all about Magic Bands?
Yes. So what are Magic Bands? So a Magic Band is a bracelet or wristband. I thought I had one up here, but I don't.
I have a bunch.
Oh, good. It's a bracelet slash wristband that serve as to easier access your card, pass, ticket, whatever have you during your Disney stay. So you can use these to get into the parks. You can use them to pay for things in Disney World, not Disneyland. And you can also use them for like your lightning lanes and whatnot as you check in for those. So they're just like, it's great because it's kind of freeing because you don't have to think about, anything. You just tap the thing and go. So it's convenient that way. How they work is after you link them to your Disney account, they take the place of your ticket. So you can use them to tap into the parks for entry and all the other things. What do they do? Well, they serve as a ticket for everyone. If you're staying on property, you can also open your resort room with them. So they work as like a key card for your hotel. And also you can charge purchases to your room with it. The Magic Band Plus variety are a little fancier. They're a little bigger. You do have to charge them. But they have these LED lights on them that are synced to many of the nighttime shows. They also will like set off special effects for the statues and whatnot in the parks. And for some attractions, they also have lights that will happen at some point during the attraction as well, which is really fun. So they're kind of just a neat, fun little lights, but you do have to charge it for that to work. Just
Yes.
So who uses Magic Bands? Well, anyone who's visiting the Disney parks can use a Magic Band. You don't have to, but you can. You have the option. Note that only the newest version, Magic Band Plus, can be used at Disneyland and California Adventure. So we'll talk more about types of band in a minute, but you have to have the newest, most expensive variety to use it at Disneyland just because of their system. Do you have to have a Magic Band? No, you don't have to have one at all. You can do the Magic Mobile thing that we just talked about. But we do recommend them for ease of access to your ticket and your card, especially in Florida, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think Disneyland is kind of a mix of people who kind of half use their phones and half use their Magic Bands. But it does give your hands a free way to tap and pay as well.
Yes.
And is really fun for the kids, which you noted here. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun because if you give your kids permission, they can even pay with their Magic Band and charge it to your room. Do keep in mind you have to be staying at a Disney World resort in order to charge things on your Magic Band, which I wish that they would let other people do that with the card that you save on your account. But that, again, what do I know? So you have to be staying on property, but it is fun because then the kids get to tap. Now, I will say it's PIN protected.
Right.
So they can't just go around tapping and buying whatever they want. They have to know the PIN. So you tap and then there's like a 4-digit code that you enter that you set yourself on your app. So you do have that little protection, but it's fun for the kids to be able to tap and pay or to tap into their own lightning lane or tap into the parks
the hotel room. Mm-hmm. My kids fight over who gets to open the hotel room door. And I'm like, like the elevator buttons, it's the eternal thing, right?
Yes. And I will also mention that I would highly suggest if they want to be in charge of tapping into the park, that you let them tap, but you use your finger.
Yes, that is
one of my biggest.
Well, especially if they're little. Mm-hmm. Older kids can handle it.
Yes, but also keep in mind which finger you use when you register. So like I typically do same hand, but like my husband and I split our kids last trip. So like I did my daughter's and he did my son's, and we did a different finger for theirs, just to make it a little bit easier. That way they still get to tap and they get to watch the little light go whenever they tap in, but
it's a fun little thing for
I
them
know
to do.
it's so really fun. Yes, and my kids loved watching them with the shows too. That was one of their favorite things.
I'm excited. My kids have never had them before, and I just got them for this trip, and I'm really excited to see because they're like, "What does it do?" And I was like, "You just wait and see."
My kids wouldn't wear them, but they would sit like this during the shows and watch the colors go. Or if they didn't have them, I would like hold my arm out so they could watch mine while the show was going off, because they thought that was super cool, because it'll do it so that your fireworks show, Fantasmic, some of the rides like Kate was mentioning. I did just
Haunted Mansion has the Beating Heart Bride, so it's red.
Super cool. I did just see that they announced that they are toying with these the magic bands for Festival of the Lion King in honor of the 30th anniversary. That's going to be coming soon, where the lights should match with stuff that's happening in the show. So hopefully we see more and more of that. And that's super fun. And then, they have all the statues at Disney World that were from the 50th.
I'm glad they didn't get rid of those. I'm happy that they're still around.
Yeah. I didn't think they would, because that was a lot of effort to put all 50 of those statues in and everything. So that they do interact with those statues. And we'll talk more about the settings for those in a little bit here.
Yeah. So there are different variations of magic bands. There's the original magic bands, the 1.0. Wow, you look at that.
I found a whole bag of our 1.0s the other day when I was cleaning out my room, and I was like,
impressed.
Oh my gosh, I think I have all of the magic bands that I've ever had.
Well, I love your description of this. You say it's thick and clunky. The batteries may or may not work at this point because they're super old, and they're not likely to work for PhotoPass Sensei, as you may not get your ride photos with those. So if you have one that's really old, maybe just think of retiring it. It might just be time to let it be a souvenir.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I will say one of the special things and one of the reasons why I've kept some of these is we still had this version the first trip that I went on when I was expecting. And so I got, like, my husband and I got mom and dad written on ours for the first time, because you get to like pick your name on the back and personalize them if they're ones that you order through your resort stay. So it's like, I'm never gonna get rid of that. That was
so sweet, Jackie. I love that.
So we both have we have a couple that have mom and dad on them, but I have which ones were our first ones.
That's so sweet. I love that. Magic Band 2.0 are the ones that do not light up. Then they have more of a rounded shape in the middle rather than the first ones are just kind of straight. They're thinner, but similar to the original. They're still used, and Disney is still releasing new designs and versions in this, so it's not technically outdated in any way. The nice part about this is you don't have to charge them at all. Mm-hmm. They just kind of live and exist, and you put them on, and they work. Yes. But they're also, these ones you can't use in Disneyland. So Disneyland only allows you to use Magic Band Plus instead. So if you plan on going to both parks, that's a small percentage of people probably. But, if you would like to try to use them in both places, I would recommend getting Magic Band Plus and not Magic Band 2.0 for that reason.
Yes. And they have fancy ones. Like this one I bought for my husband. It's like the band. Oh, this is light. It's like the band leader one that's like a Dooney and Burke one, because he's a music teacher. And then he's got an Epcot one. And I have this is one of mine. I've got a Minnie Mouse polka dot one. I've got all sorts of different ones, because these used to be free. Way back.
Wait, do you remember when they were free? Oh my gosh, I forgot that.
That's why I have so many.
They were included in your trip package.
If you booked a package, they used to be free. And now you do get a discount if you purchase them through your package. It's usually a $10 to $15 discount off of
worth it to do it
full price. So
yeah, yes. But the selection is really limited. It's really like it is whatever they have available at the time. And I have had really bad luck getting mine shipped to my home. This was the only trip I have had with my family that I've ordered Magic Bands in the last 3 or 4 years that I've actually received mine on time, and they haven't gotten lost in the mail.
Oh,
And they even say on there,
It's
like,
a good
processing
sign.
time is really, really long. And through all of that, I have learned an awful lot about their process through how they how they do all the Magic Bands. And it's like a third party manufacturer, and then they pass it over to USPS, and they have like all these like protocols for how they do it. Because every time I had to go try and find who had it at a given time. So I have a lot of numbers for if you've lost your Magic Band. So just come reach out to me if you haven't gotten yours in time for your trip and all.
Yes. And I will say it used to be a lot more frequent that they had turnover in their stock on what they had online. It's not quite as bad anymore, but right after everything kind of reopened in 2021, it was like day to day. So I would get on, we had a trip booked that was supposed to be in 2020, ended up getting pushed out to 2021. And that particular trip, I kept having to go on and see. And then that trip, I actually unintentionally got Magic Bands, and then we didn't go on that trip. And then we got a second set of Magic Bands because we had to rebook our trip, like completely rebook our trip. And I was like, oh, because it was during the height of the Panini and everything was going on. So it was like we unintentionally got two sets of Magic Bands for our one trip.
Well, that happened to me when the one got lost in the mail. The other one showed up later. So we just got two of the exact same thing. And I'm like, well, great.
Ours were different, but oh well. So yes, it can change, but you do want to order them sooner rather than
as far
later.
in as advance as you can. It's like you just don't wait till the last minute.
And sometimes it's hard because if you've got a whole family of 4 or 5 or 6 that you're ordering for and you're trying to find ones that each person likes, as soon as you find it, place that order, because 2 hours later one of them could go out of stock, and then you're stuck waiting for that one person to find one that they like, and it becomes kind of a puzzle, so to speak, when it comes to that.
Yeah, and if you have an annual pass holder in your party, usually it's a separate order from everybody else. So you'll have everybody in your family kind of together, and then the annual pass holder will be on the outskirts. It's kind of a separate order, so just keep that in mind as well. Yes,
because you can order. They give you, I believe they used to at least give annual pass holders discounts like once every year or something like that with Magic Bands. So if that's something you're interested in, you may need to look at that, where they would give like a discount code, or like, when you renew, you could order one for a discount or something like that.
Well, and you also, when you're staying at a resort, you also get the resort discount.
Yes.
Just because you're an annual pass holder doesn't mean you don't get that resort discount.
Right.
As long as you have a resort reservation. So it's still worth it to me, to get a discount on one then, rather than just buying it retail at a store. And it also gets personalized with my name on it, which is really nice too.
Yes. Yes.
So, one thing we didn't mention, I don't see it here either, is how to adjust it for your kid's wrist. If you want to point that out real quick.
Yes. So they come, I'll just use this one as an example. This functions on every version the same way. They come with a design, but then you see here at the bottom, they have this extra piece. This is my husband's. He did not want to adjust it because he needed the full length to be able to fit on his wrist. I have tiny wrists, so I actually pull the extra off of mine because it fits perfectly when I do. But they will look just like this. You literally just yank that bottom piece of plastic off, and then you don't lose any of the design, which they purposefully did that so that you don't lose. You may lose some coloring or some, but you really don't lose any of the design. And that gives you a shorter, smaller loop to work with for kiddos, which is super helpful. And Kate has also mentioned little like bit belts.
Keepers. Yeah, bit belts.
Yeah, and all of those are really great ideas to keep your Magic Bands on, because unfortunately lots of people have lost Magic Bands in the parks.
I almost lost one in the bathroom once and almost fell into the toilet, because it's got snagged on like something I was wearing, and it like almost opened, but I had the keeper on it so it didn't fall in, and I was like,
right. Good news is if someone finds finds your Magic Band that you have lost, they're likely to turn it in, because one, they can't use it for anything, because once it's been assigned to you, it cannot be reassigned.
Yeah.
And two, even if you have charging capabilities on there, like I mentioned earlier, it's still PIN protected. So they can't charge a bunch of stuff to your account or anything like that. So, it's really unfortunate if you lose it. It's not the end of the world, as far as like your information is not going to be out there for anyone to take. But yeah, these ones are the same way. These are the new ones, and I shortened this one because I have tiny wrists. Ooh, this way.
I have a comment from Katie O. It says, I lost one in Haunted Mansion in just the right place that I receive photos from every Haunted Mansion rider all day.
I
love
hysterical. And she's not the first person that I've heard of that happening to.
That is funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because these are the newer ones are all have that chip in it that will help you. They will automatically sync for your ride photos. And they work pretty well.
Photos of strangers if you're in the right place at the right time.
You know. So a couple of things. I don't know if we talked about everything with the new Magic Band Plus, but they do have those LED lights on them. If I can, you can see mine is lighting up blue right now. If I can here, let me see. It's so hard to show with my light on there. You can see the blue. So they do need to be charged in order to have the LED light. It will come with I just dropped my my other one. It will come with a charger that will look like this. So it's got like this little two little metal dots on the back that need to hook to the little metal dots that are on here. It does not come with a wall port. So keep that in mind. I know.
I need them for more of those.
I know. So the good thing is I think all of the Disney resorts have just plain USB hookups somewhere in the room. I may be wrong, but I'm fairly certain almost all of them do. So that is good news, but that also means that you can't plug your phone directly into those, and you need to have the brick end to be able to utilize other chargers. But if the battery dies or if you forget to charge it, it will still function as a standard Magic Band. So it still has that same technology inside as, this one does.
You just want the fun stuff.
Yes, it will still function as a Magic Band. You will still get ride photos, but you won't be able to see the lights with the shows. You won't be able to interact with the character statues and some of that other stuff that you need the battery to be able to do. There are some fun little settings that you can use on the on your My Disney Experience app. So once you go into your there's an option on there where you can go into your bands on there. So this is that band that I'm showing literally right there on the thing that Kate has. So you can see, this one's not connected right now when I was doing that screenshot because I don't need it to be connected right now. But you'll go through and pair it through the Bluetooth and get it all set up. But then the light up theme, you can click change colors and you'll be able to customize everything in there as well, which is really nice. And then under the settings, it talks about brightness and vibration and sensitivity. For your kiddos, I always suggest upping. There's a switch that you can flip to up the sensitivity on them, especially if they want to use it for character statues. Mm-hmm. Because it can be really frustrating if you're waving and waving and waving at the character statue.
So bad for those families.
And it's not doing anything. Yes, so up that sensitivity, and then you'll find throughout the day it'll randomly go off when you're close to those character statues. So that's a super fun thing.
Yeah, it'll vibrate to let you know something's nearby.
Yes. And again, those ones are the ones that you can use at Disney World and at Disneyland. So those are, if you plan on going to both and you want to use a Magic Band, the Magic Band Plus is the one that you're going to have to use.
And something I didn't realize until I think you told me that I knew I needed to update it. I didn't really know how to pair it, with my device. I didn't really know what I was doing for a long time when I first got these, just because I just wasn't paying attention. I do history. I live 1950s, whatever. So I was like, oh, it's cute and whatnot, but I didn't really get the full capability of it and changing what colors I wanted on it and all of those things and the gestures and everything. And I was like, oh, once I figured out I need to go in this and you need to pair it with your phone, with your Bluetooth, and you need to update it and you need to do all the things. And I'm so glad I figured that out. So thank you, Jackie, for saying that. But definitely go in your app and adjust it and pair it with your phone and all that. It's worth it to do that for sure.
And I let my kids pick their colors that they wanted. We went through as part of one of our things we did. And I will also mention you're going to want to charge these fully when you go to pair them. They're going to require it to be so charged to be able to pair it. But then I would also plug them in when you get to your resort. And hopefully maybe you have an overnight before your first park day, because they lose battery. They'll last you a full day, but they won't last you any longer than that. And if you charge them at home, by the time you get to the resort, chances are good that they're almost dead, just because of travel time and this, that, and the other. The other thing I will mention about these is I always put at least one of these in my purse when I leave my house. Because when you get to your room, then you're not fumbling with your app. When your hands are full of your luggage, you already have a magic band that's ready to tap. Or if you go to the front desk and you have questions, you can tap your magic band for them at the front desk, and they'll be able to pull up your account a lot easier that way than you having to put out ID and all that kind of stuff. So I always make sure I have at least one magic band out and in my purse, because it just makes it so much easier. You can use your app and, that kind of thing too, but this just makes it so much easier to have.
I agree. I really love the magic bands for Disney World in particular. I use it for Disneyland and Disney World. Honestly, It's just really nice and convenient, but it is really helpful. And something else I was thinking of is, now that I have a teenager, he's a high schooler now, which is scary.
Yeah.
But I could potentially give him the pin if I trust him enough, and be like, if he wants to go and buy something, while he's out away from us or something, if he's having a little bit of solo time, he has the capability of doing that. I don't have to hand him cash necessarily, so that is also a really nice option to do that as well.
Yeah. And these work pretty much anywhere. There are a few third-party stores that, same places that you wouldn't be able to use a Disney gift card, you can't use these. But 95% of property, Disney Springs is a little iffy, but 95% of property, you would be able to use these to pay. You can even use them at restaurants and all that kind of stuff too. If you don't mobile order at quick service, you could use them there. There's lots of different options for when you can use them. And again, I think it's worth it to at least have one, because I think it's helpful and just makes my life so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Allie Beth said, buy Crystal Castle, charges it to mom's card. You have to trust your child enough to.
Yeah. And, I don't know if you could I haven't looked that closely because I haven't needed to. And we don't typically charge stuff to our room because we usually are using gift cards or things like that. But I've never looked to see if there's a limit of what you can charge.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't looked either.
Yeah. So
maybe
there might be, or you might be able to put a limit on it if you wanted to. You know what I mean? That might be one of the settings that you can do. And you can also do different pins for different users and all that kind of stuff too. So there's tons of different options depending on what fits your party. But do keep in mind that anything that you charge with this is going to be charged to whatever room this is associated with. So if you're in a party of 6 and you have 2 rooms, keep that in mind depending on what type of card you want to, whose card you want stuff to go on. It can get really complicated. So whatever room your band is connected to is going to be the one that gets charged.
Yeah. Unless we had a previous arrangement. If I was traveling with a group of people, I probably would just use my own card, my own Apple Pay or something. I probably wouldn't use that just to keep it. Because then you get the bill and then you're all trying to figure out who owes what, and it becomes a big nightmare. So yeah, I wouldn't do that myself.
Right. And like I said, we typically use gift cards for everything because we save a little bit of money by getting the gift card for a little bit of a discount through Target or Sam's or wherever. So it's just easier to use it that way. But you can also use gift cards to pay off your balance on your room as long as you do it before checkout. So if you know that you've charged things to your account and you want to use gift cards to pay them off, you can do that at the front desk. You just got to make sure you do it well in advance before checkout.
Yes. Well, I feel like that was just about everything for tickets and reservations, but we're not done yet. And we have our final section, which of course is Ask the Moms. And this is something we do every podcast episode. This is a question from one of our Mom Street viewers or listeners, I guess, depending on how you look at it.
One or the other or both.
So, and it usually doesn't have to do with the topic we're currently talking about. So this one, I'm going to ask you, Jackie, this one, 'cause I think you can answer this one. Which Disney World park has the most character meet and greets?
That's a really good question. I know a lot of people that go to the parks that want to do characters and they want to get all the autographs and the photos and that type of thing. For character meet and greets, I believe, without like getting out my app and counting, that Magic Kingdom probably has the most. I would think Epcot is probably a close second. Thinking about that, I will mention that a lot of the parks have specific characters for that park. And what I mean by that is like you can find like Safari Mickey and Minnie at Animal Kingdom. You can only find Sorcerer Mickey at Hollywood Studios. You can find like your standard Mickey in his like typical outfit with the, the red and black and yellow and all of that. At Magic Kingdom. So there's different variations of each character there that I do just want to make sure that people are aware of that, because if you're looking for a certain iconic character, you may have to kind of hunt for them and which park they're at. But I would say, I mean, Disney World has the Fab Five. They have a ton of princesses. Some of these are only at dining too, but like some of them are more than one place. Like you can meet the Pooh Bear friends they have a spot next to the Winnie the Pooh ride, but then they're also in Crystal Palace. Princesses are in the castle, but then also there's Princess Fairy Tale Hall where you can meet them. There are some characters that are staged around as well that are kind of in the app that you just have to hunt for.
Like Buzz Lightyear is over in Tomorrowland.
Stitch is over in Tomorrowland. Yeah. Mirabelle is in that little alcove area as you walk towards, like, if you're looking at the castle on the right-hand side. Whatever, I don't know whatever you want to call that pathway that kind of goes back to Fantasyland-ish, Tomorrowland-ish, kind of bridges the gap between those two.
That's where they used to have Merida.
Yes, yeah. In the spot where they used to have Merida. You can find Fairy Godmother wandering around. You can find Kate's favorite Peter Pan wandering around.
For those people who don't know, Peter Pan, for one reason or another, for one day, he kept showing up everywhere I was in the park. And it was very strange. It was like not his usual places. He was like in Liberty Square and stuff. Yeah. And he just like popped up and was like hanging out. And I'm like, okay.
Right. Yes.
He was very nice.
Yes. Yes, it was. Kate just felt like they were being followed. Weren't you with Lem that morning too? I think you guys were doing like content stuff, so he was like in your video.
He was, yeah. He was like standing behind me, and I didn't know. And I turned around, and I like scared me. I was like, "Oh, hi, okay." We're doing that.
So Magic Kingdom has some of that. Magic Kingdom, I will say, has the most character meets on Genie Plus. So if that is something you're utilizing, I would definitely do Magic Kingdom for character meet and greets for Genie Plus. Ariel is on there, Mickey is on there, the princesses are on there, so that's a benefit of that. Epcot has Mickey. Mickey has a new meet and greet in Epcot in the new Communicore building. I saw
you did some content on that. That was interesting.
Yeah, it has been Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy, but they say Mickey and his pals, so it could rotate depending on who's in there. And Figment meets over there. So again, more specialized characters kind of there. And then World Showcase does have quite a few characters, dependent on where what country you're in. So, Mulan meets in China. You've got Sleeping Beauty in France. You've also got Belle, I think, is over there sometimes, so different. You've got Mary Poppins and Alice that meet in the UK. So lots of things like that. So that's why I think Epcot may actually have more but either way, either Epcot or Magic Kingdom. And I would go where you want to go based on the specific characters you're looking for.
Yeah. And I would say that the number one park in the U.S. to meet characters is Disneyland.
Yes.
Because they are everywhere. Yeah. Starting right around 10:30, 11 o'clock, they all just start walking around in Fantasyland. All kinds of characters, and they're everywhere. So, and other places too, but there's just a lot of characters in Disneyland, and they're more free roaming than they are in Disney World. Disney World's very organized. They're like in their location, and you go meet them. And Disneyland, they're just kind of like out and about. Right. And you experience them. They're just like, I'll just be walking along and like, there's Alice with like a giant teacup walking by. I was like, oh, okay. There's a Mad Hatter that follows her. There's Captain Hook over there by the Matterhorn. And it's just like, there's just random characters everywhere, which is great. So
yes. And I will say that the best place to find who is currently meeting at each park is just to use your app. So whether you're looking Disneyland, DCA, or somewhere in Disney World, but do keep in mind that the app can be a little bit finicky, because if you like look after their meet and greet is done for the day, they won't show up. So I would always kind of check first thing in the morning, like a couple days or weeks before your trip at each park, to see who's frequently showing up. Some of them do have set meet and greets and set hours. And like I said, you can get some of them on Genie Plus, but some of them it can change. And some of them have like 9:30, 11:30, 1:30, and 3:30 are their times, right. So you want to make sure that you're looking at the timing of that, because a lot of those character lines can get pretty long, especially for some of the newer characters like Mirabelle. That line can get pretty long.
Yeah, show up early to the meet and greet times. Yes. Don't show up right at the time that it starts, because you'll already be a giant line there and you may not get into it if it's a really popular character. Mm-hmm. So
yes, so keep that in mind. The one thing that I do think is silly is the what is it? Silly sideshow characters back in the like
the
circus area. Yeah, but I don't know why they're not on Genie Plus.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know.
Because it's a really fun character meet and greet. It's Donald and Goofy on one side and Minnie and Daisy on the other side. And it's a really cute, fun meet and greet, really great theming inside. But the line, there's either nobody back there or the line is like an hour. And it's like
if there's no, it's extreme. It's like, it's one or the other. There's no in between.
Yeah, and there's no Genie Plus offering for those characters, which I think is interesting, because they are literally in a set building. Like they're not wandering and roaming like you said. So
we would make people more aware that they're there if they had, Genie Plus.
Right. Well, and any of that is helpful for one, for us getting our money's worth when we have to buy Genie Plus, and two, for helping to just disperse the crowds, because I feel like that area is underutilized a lot back there by Dumbo and Big Top Souvenirs and the Barnstormer area back there. Has that really cute splash pad, but like it's very much underutilized. So that would help, I would think. But again, what do I know? They didn't ask me. Well, I think that wraps up our Ask the Moms. And as always, we love hearing from you, and we love hearing your questions that you guys have for our Ask the Moms segment. So send them our way. We are looking for some questions for future episodes. So please send those in. If you've got them, we are more than happy to help answer them in our future episodes. You can send them to us at momstreetusa@gmail.com or on direct message in any of our social media accounts. We are at momstreetusa on all of the accounts.
Mm-hmm. And this has been a really interesting episode, because you wouldn't think that there was that much to talk about with reservations and ticketing, but it is a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a whole episode of just that. But hopefully this is something that you guys all found really helpful. Maybe I even learned a couple of new things that I hadn't even considered, and we've been doing this forever. So.
I know. It's a lot to think about. It a lot like, okay, well, if I'm not in this situation, maybe someone else is. When I did all of this stuff for annual passes, it's like, I don't have an annual pass, but I had to like put myself in that mindset of like, okay, what do I need to do if that's me? So hopefully we keep you guys
thinking about
all
getting an annual pass. How do you do that? So
yes.
All right. Well, I think that's all for this episode. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of Mom Street USA. We hope you learned a little something about ticketing and reservations and magic bands and all the ways to hook up your family together so that everybody knows what everybody's doing. Jackie, do you have any final thoughts here as we wrap up?
It can be very complicated, but just go step by step. And if all else fails, find a cast member that can help you either on the chat or on the phone or in person. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. And if you have any questions on your planning process and you want to reach out to us, you can always do that at momstreetusa@gmail.com. Also, DisneyCicerone.com/momstreetusa is where you can find a lot of trip planning resources, as well as our Mom Street shirts and merch. And also, I do have a couple of books there as well, if you're interested in some Disney reads for your Disney vacation. So thank you, everybody, for being with us. We really appreciate all you guys so much. This community means an awful lot to me and Jackie, and we're just so grateful that you guys are with us on this journey. But I'm going to go head to Disney World, and Yay! I'll see you on the other side of that. But until next week, we'll see you later on Mom Street USA.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Bye.